So far, you're 4 for 4.
It's the Y in the vowels.
Yeah.
It fits. Sometimes, but not. Yeah.
Nobody actually went 4 for 4 at the start of the LCS, so now you're 5 for 5.
Here we go. We got one
last lottery number right
more
here, Riv.
mid-ban.
What would it be? We have to be in Italy. But I don't think they're going to ban in Italy this early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can tell what the focus is in this game. I feel like it's a very, very discreet.
Ziggs?
We're not very discreet about this. Ziggs would be a little interesting.
A little weird, but
I mean, I'm going with it. You called it all today. 1. No ban.
No ban. Oh, maybe to leave something up? No, they go for Thresh. All right.
They had to wait until the last
Thanks,
second.
guys. But no, it is going to be the Olaf to Nintendude. That's very nice for him.
And they banned Thresh away from Daydreamin. He is playing Thresh 3 out of 5 times. It is his hook master right there. Before he came into the LCS, I believe Kobe mentioned this yesterday as well, he was pretty much just a Thresh and Blitzcrank player.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at hooks. Getting rid of Thresh is a smart ban there. There weren't really any priority mids left, so.
I was going to say, I think it's weird that they're picking up Elise since Vi is that kind of for sure lockdown, and that's how they feed Bjergsen. But if you take away the slippery mids, you can take the Elise.
I think that is an interesting observation, but I also think that Elise just fits TheOddOne's playstyle
Oh, yeah,
more.
absolutely.
Shiphtur is a much harder person to camp than Hotshot, and it's a much more difficult strategy to pull off. Because Shiphtur is just so elusive in the mid lane. He's incredibly smart about gank protection for himself. And I like the fact that they didn't decide to go Vi. Elise is a more comfortable champion for TheOddOne.
So we will see. The support's now a little focused here by Coast. I remember when Daydreamin came in, he was playing Elise and such. I missed those
Got
days
a triple
on
kill
support.
in his first game.
Quadra.
Yeah, you know, Elise could still be seen as support.
But so strong,
you
though.
talk to junglers nowadays, you'd be like, so when are we going to see Elise support? It's like, never, because I will always jungle
Over
Elise
my
if we
dead
get her.
body.
Yeah. The same thing with Olaf, too, in the top lane. When are we going to see Olaf? Well, he's good now.
Yeah.
He's just better in the jungle. So.
Especially on Nintendude. He loves to think so. And they'll try to prove it this game. We see Jinx being picked up. One of those top tier priorities right now.
WizFujiiN's actually only played 2 different AD carries in LCS. He played 3 games of Eris to start, and now he's on his 3rd game of Jinx. I like that lane as well. Leona Jinx has a tremendous amount of burst damage, especially against, you know, being picked into Annie. If Leona can lock down Annie whatsoever, it's burst down. Oh, dear. It's the roamer. That's the whole thing they're doing. The last time Coast was able to pick Olaf jungle.
Wow.
Yeah. No, seriously, the last time they could pick Olaf jungle was their win against EG, and they picked, that's when they did the LeBlanc roam. But Katarina can still be that roamer. Katarina will leave the lane at some point in the mid game between level 6 and 10. NintendudeX will just sit there in mid and wave clear with Olaf. And we're going to see Shiphtur go around and try and get a bunch of kills. Likewise, the most banned champion against Coast in the summer split. Riven was banned 14 times against ZionSpartan. Good chance he's going to take that top lane.
So with Coast composition, as they now have it, all 5, if they don't get the early game, it seems like they're going to be a little too squishy to go anywhere else in the late game.
Oh, it's a real squishy team composition. They're definitely going to try and use ZionSpartan as a split pusher. Then they use their middle 3, which is Leona, Olaf, and Jinx, kind of as a roaming thing. And then you get to see Shiphtur go back and forth between the split push lane and the other 3. And that's their playstyle.
They're going to have to be very careful in their positioning, but they're not exactly dealing with a huge amount of crowd control unless Annie's there. So this is good for Katarina, good for Shiphtur to get things moving for the team. But Bjergsen is also on one of his favorites here in our matchup of the day.
Absolutely. Bjergsen Zed is so impressive. He pulls off some amazing moves on that. He had 1 win against EG on Zed already so far this season. I like TSM's bottom lane as well. It is a very powerful shoving lane. A lot of kill potential there. WizFujiiN has been honestly quite underwhelming for Coast. If they're going to win, it's pretty much always because of their solo lane play. And I think that's a place where TSM is going to try and get out an early advantage.
Well, the early advantage is always behind that Reginald. Oh, not Reginald in mid. It's Bjergsen in mid.
Bjergsen.
Your brain just pulls it, the storage. And
Top
it's like,
kills in the
nope,
LCS.
not him.
Dominating.
Yeah.
Now he's on Zed.
Huge.
He's on the playmaker right here.
Well, he gets one of the champions that he does want as the teams load into the game. Let's see who you think is going to come out on top. According to LOLesports.com, it is 94% of you that are confident Team Solomid are going to make it 5.
That is a big number,
5 wins
Riv.
for themselves.
94%. 6% is a very small shred of that bar.
I think there was a...
That's worth it. 94% of the fans can chant.
Yeah. I think it was a 95-5 in Europe.
There was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did they lose that game? I don't think so. There was a... wasn't the Dignitas Cloud9 game 95-5, or was it 90-10?
Like 92-8.
We're going to have someone look that up for us.
That's not math.
And then we're going to look smart.
Yeah.
Once we know.
Once we know. So looking at the Annie against Leona. That lane, obviously, we kind of saw Alistar being played in Korea. But
against
nobody's
Leona.
picked that up here yet.
Exactly.
For that Leona matchup.
I think the Leona matchup against Annie is actually quite dangerous for the Annie. It's a dangerous lane in both regards. If Annie can get a jump on the Leona's AD carry, they blow it up. If Leona can get a jump on Annie while that's trying to happen, generally Annie blows up. And it's about the AD carry having enough damage while Annie is getting focused down.
All right, as we jump onto the Rift, our second match of the day, the featured matchup here in the mid lane between Shiphtur and Bjergsen, something we will be watching, as well as what's going to happen in this top lane. ZionSpartan using that Riven after the changes here in the 4.1 patch. I'm kind of interested to see how this matchup fares.
Yeah, a lot of her ratios have changed around from bonus attack damage to total attack damage. The changes are scaling a little bit. Supposed to separate the good Riven players from the not so good ones.
Oh. Let's see the odd one rocking a ward to start off here. They're going to favor a bit of vision early in the game. Or a bit more vision, if you will.
Yeah. You very rarely see the odd one going with a ward right off the bat. Elise, of course, can sustain spectacularly in the jungle with all of her spiderlings.
Fastest attack speed at level 1.
This is really what early game is all about.
Dancing.
Yeah. You got to find the right taunt to make dance moves.
You going to dance with a shadow now? Look at that. Damn. He's not even looking at his screen. He looked over to the other side. He can do it without
Shiphtur
looking.
could have harassed him there. Missing out on opportunities.
Second game of the day, BM already? No. These guys know.
Burst damage.
Well,
right.
TSM has the lead. Let's see what they can do with it.
I think they're going to look to get some early pressure off that damage.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that actually says that the odd one's starting at his red buff. That means NintendudeX is most likely starting at blue. Standard lanes all around, but the bottom lane will have to be on high alert because both junglers are trending directly towards that. This also tells Dyrus and ZionSpartan they basically get some alone time together and they can fight. I didn't mean it like that. They're just 1v1 in the top lane.
Well, ZionSpartan has started that sword, so it looks like he could go into the Brutalizer right quickly, as we did see Urgot do last game on Yellow Pete. It's a level 1 Zenith Blade, and already WizFujiiN and Daydreamin trying to put the pain down.
Hey, they got a little bit of early harass. They're trying not to get shoved out right at the start of the game. They know early level 2 in this lane matchup is of utmost importance. So making sure to get rid of that Xpecial stun right away so they can't use it for kill pressure later.
Got to get minion number 7. That first minion of the second wave is all it needs. Bjergsen and Shiphtur nicely dodging each other there. Looks like TheOddOne. That's always his path. He roams towards mid. It kind of, if there's a chance of a gank, he's there.
He's always there for a counter gank.
Getting this ward in, not going for NintendudeX, and it looks like they are going to be downside. Maybe we'll see him in the bottom half of the jungle. They're actually going quite slow on their paths right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rush at the start of the game here. They're making sure that they would be there for some counter ganks. You can see Nintendu took an extra camp over OddOne.
Right.
These guys in the mid lane, they're good. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. There's a lot of juking that can be pulled off with both Zed and Katarina.
Outplay champions are my favorite. Never straightforward and always get out of a slippery situation. Like you said, Bjergsen showed us that with his LeBlanc, with his Zed. Those shadow movement and clone movement is very big in his skill set. Right now, the bottom lane, WizFujiiN has been forced to pop that potion. See if WildTurtle takes more advantage and starts putting the pain down, since there's no sustain down here.
Yeah, well, Nintendude is going to walk right through a ward if he goes for this. It's a Zenith Blade that lands. Let's see if they can force something.
Still got it. Xpecial with the stun. How's he going to use it? He has to flash the Flame Choppers. Tries to get the double undertow, but they take quite a bit of damage on this. Nintendude's forced to back up.
I feel like if Nintendude landed that axe on Annie, it would have been a kill, because that was a post-flash axe. And even though he took a lot of damage later, the burst would have been there for them. So it burns a flash despite being a ward, mainly because of Daydreamin's nice Zenith Blade.
And this will kind of help out the odd one now. He knows a bit of pressure is relieved off that first gank, so he's kind of just hanging out in his jungle. We may not see him for the next few, not seconds, but
he's going to farm up.
Yeah.
None of his lanes need his help right now, and his first counter gank like opportunity is gone because he didn't counter gank the first thing. He's going to go back and get that Spirit Stone, I believe. Make it so he no longer has to worry about any type of damage in the jungle. At least heals so much when she gets that new Spirit Stone, along with her already heavy lifesteal from her Spider Ring.
It looks like that longsword went quickly into this Vampiric Scepter, so ZionSpartan can get close to Dyrus here, but he's also picked up that vision as he fears he's going to be a target.
They don't really know where OddOne's going. Even though he camped for Bjergsen one game, another game he ganks other lanes entirely. He's one of the better junglers at remaining unpredictable in the current season.
Trying to get a push on Bjergsen here, using the Sinister Blade to get a good pressure on the wave. ZionSpartan in the face of Dyrus, so he's just waiting for the next minion wave to come up. But these guys pretty much even at 30 LCS.
Yeah, that top lane will be interesting to see if ZionSpartan can reach damage before Dyrus just starts stacking armor. Otherwise, it's going to be a very powerful lane for Dyrus. Mundo being able to survive the early game is almost never a good thing for the enemy team, especially when Shiphtur is looking to play Katarina, who relies heavily on resets, and obviously WizFujiiN does as well with Jinx.
There's another one from Nintendude focusing the mid lane, and it's actually going to be for the counter gank on the odd one, who just feels it. The Spidey sense is all they need.
Yeah, Bjergsen able to outfarm Shiphtur a little bit here. Katarina definitely not that strong early on farm-wise, so this is an expected result thus far. Shiphtur just trying to survive to the point where he can become a roamer. And then he's going to be looking to make plays from there.
The odd one's already been to, or the odd one rather, Nintendude has already been to his lane a few times, so once he does get to that roaming point, it'll be easier and they're not going to be behind. Let's see if it works out. The level 6 come in and he goes instantly for the ultimate, but it's going to be the death mark back on a Shiphtur. He has the damage, he has the victory in the 1v1. First blood, Bjergsen.
Fancy moves right there. That is the reason TSM picked up Bjergsen from Europe right there. First blood in a 1v1. Shiphtur thought he had it calculated. Bjergsen had it calculated a little bit better. And that's really huge for him in that 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, I think the Dorn's blade to that Dorn's shield start, he knew what he was doing, and he actually goes for more damage. The quick brutalizer for the longsword after, the scepter most likely. The Seeker's arm guard has to be bought up, and Shiphtur knows it.
Yeah. Katarina going for a very early Zanya's. Maybe not. Just going for a little bit of extra armor. There's a chance he'll just piece this together. Because he wants the damage for roaming. He often goes with glass cannon type builds.
Back down to the bottom lane. We do have Xpecial, as most Annie's starting out with that Doran's ring, but they haven't really been able to use that power. WizFujiiN going early with Daydreamin in that lane. You see ZionSpartan. He's still able to out-harass Dyrus a little bit, but he knows once that combo's over, he can always get his attack back as well.
Yeah, ZionSpartan using his Vamp Scepter to sustain. Dyrus has to use his ult to sustain. That whenever ZionSpartan can keep the ult on cooldown, it actually really diminishes the effect of a Dyrus teleport. He wouldn't be able to chase once he teleports down. So ZionSpartan, I'd say, is doing well to keep Dyrus down.
OddOne has been quiet this game.
Yeah. He's only... OddOne generally only acts up when he needs to, you know? None of these lanes
all rowdy.
Have needed too much help. Bjergsen is fine 1v1. Ganking a Riven with a Mundo doesn't really work. And their bot lane has been quite fine on its own, just because WildTurtle and Xpecial have generally stayed fairly well pushed up. OddOne done well to farm thus far, and they're hoping to get some kind of counter here. They're expecting Daydreamin and Fusion to go in as soon as they hit level 6, and OddOne wants to be there for the counter.
Pretty sure they saw him on that last melee minion, but it was just to get the lane pushed as well. We are going to have backing from the bottom lane. They need to get some items in, but the OddOne's is known where he is on the map, rather, for Coast. So
Shadows down for Bjergsen.
Yep, Nintendude's going to use that to his advantage. They know the OddOne can come from the bottom side, so they're careful about this engagement.
Really just trying to shove out the lane together right there. You can see that gank had very low chance of success, even with the Shadow down. They still have to land more. That's a nice stun, though.
Very nice hit on Nintendude. We see Shiphtur coming down. 300 HP the last few hits. Shiphtur couldn't even react in time.
Is that a Vuvuzela right there?
Yeah.
LCS right here, North America. This is big stuff. That was a nice gank by the OddOne.
Got the
Coast
shadow.
is out of sorts right here.
Woo!
That shadow's not moving anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
No, really, though.
It should have disappeared.
OddOne and Bjergsen are completely ahead of them right now. Mentally as well as gameplay-wise. Just completely ruining Nintendo. He burned his Ghost and his ultimate there. Didn't even save his life.
It's been something that they've been setting up. Nintendude has only gone mid, and OddOne, that was his first choice for a gank besides what didn't work out at bottom. He's been planning this.
OddOne, biding his time.
Yeah, he's just waiting to get that. Spun him up in the web, and he took him down. His kill and Bjergsen's kill, so those two that actually really have good mentality on the team to keep everybody up and moving, already doing well. So that's only going to help even more. The BF sword onto WildTurtle,
yep,
not bad at all.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of big damage. He might be going for the Bloodthirster early, but you can see he's only building the damage components right now. This really tells you that he hasn't been harassed almost at all in this lane. He hasn't had to go for Vamp Second because he doesn't care about the sustain.
Looks like Dyrus is winning that. ZionSpartan leaving the lane with about 500-600 HP, and Dyrus is just going to happily push this one up. His teleport is still up, but he chooses to just back here.
Yep. It had been a while since those guys had shopped. Dyrus taking his first trip of the day. Picks up a whole bunch of armor.
Wow.
Health, wards, boots. There's a whole bunch.
I think he just took out a lone.
ZionSpartan, though, finished off his Tiamat, so he's going to try and counter-shove at Dyrus. That lane is really just going to be about Zion farming, because Zion wants to become strong enough to become a split-push force. Coast doesn't necessarily win in the ways other teams do.
TSM flexing their muscles here in front of Coast, the undertow, and the rocket just flying right by.
TSM is actually trying to play an incredibly controlled game here. I think it's their strategy against Coast, since the way Coast has won games is either ZionSpartan gets really fed, like on Nasus, and starts drawing 2 or 3 people over to himself, or Shiphtur starts roaming a whole bunch and creates kills that way. But if TSM just plays controlled, keeps the objective game up, doesn't overcommit anywhere, it doesn't leave many opportunities for Shiphtur to roam, and since they do trust in Dyrus, they're just expecting him to keep ZionSpartan down. It's really forcing WizFujiiN and Daydreamin to do something, and they haven't shown that they're capable of it yet this split.
Well, last time we saw ZionSpartan on Riven, I remember the game he came back from graduation, and he played exceptionally. You know, Riven still has these changes, but he's evened out in the mid lane. It looks like they may get an assist onto this one. He goes ahead and forces the flash first, leaving his shadows up.
Surprising that ZionSpartan would pop his ultimate before even getting in damage range. Now when he goes back to the top lane, Dyrus is going to know that he can beat him in a 1v1. That's why he's trying to head him off here.
The ultimate is down. I'm not going to really have any wind slash left to use there, and it wouldn't do much to Dyrus, but he knows he can start harassing this lane even more. Like you said, HP, the armor, he's going to start doing some pain to Zion.
TSM in complete control. We can see, you know, the only 2 times Coast has actually taken games against TSM was in the finals of the spring split. It was a 3-2 best of 5. Regular season, 8-0 for TSM. It has been total domination here. And Zion is going to have to worry about getting dope here. No ultimate, so he can't counterattack. Let's see TSM work.
TSM has vision all over the map, so they can do dangerous things like this. And it looks like they may be a little too far off to get the kill, but they have the lane pressure.
They burned the flash. They got ZionSpartan out of there, and if they want, they can just take down this turret. OddOne is actually rotated to hold that lane, and it was actually Bjergsen who does first roam.
This will be going down in their favor, and that will be the first structure of the map. They've already grabbed a 3,000 gold lead, Jet. 12 minutes in.
Definitely one of the more controlled TSM games.
Yeah.
Every lane doing its job to do well right now. And that makes roam much more difficult. But because there was a Bjergsen roam top, TSM needs to be heady of where Shiphtur goes. He is a sneaky person right now, and currently they're looking to plan a turret dive. Daydreamin is going to try and get on here, but Dyrus is teleporting from the back.
There's the flash in from Annie, and the Timbers onto WizFujiiN. A good hit from Dyrus. He doesn't actually get an assist on the briefcase, unfortunately. But they're going to keep going for the fight here. No, it's Turtle.
Great barrier.
Trying to get in. Oh, very nicely done. And they're going for Shiphtur still, taking him down on that as well. 3 have gone down. Nintendude found by OddOne as they go through Tri-Brush. He was a little late to the party, and OddOne was there to stop him.
TSM predicted that gank just perfectly. Shiphtur had to come in from behind the turret, and TSM initiated first. It meant Dyrus got to fight a 2v3, and then Shiphtur was late. He could not get resets, and it was a clean sweep for TSM there.
This is perfect for Dyrus to be out of his lane as well. ZionSpartan's in mid. Let's just take another look at this initiation.
Yeah, Daydreamin thought this would have been good until Mundo survived. arrived. Even if they would have lost WizFujiiN, Shiphtur generally would have been able to win that fight if Dyrus wasn't there to stop them. Great stunts by Xpecial throughout. WildTurtle waited just the right moment for the barriers so Shiphtur would commit fully, and it turned everything around. The roam failed for Shiphtur and worked for Bjergsen.
That just makes it even harder for Coast. The things they are trying to put into motion are being stopped dead in their tracks right now as TSM's doing it one step faster. The 3,000 gold lead now to 4, 5 actually, and it's 2 turrets now for TSM.
Yeah, this is going to be a tall order if Coast wants to come back. This is looking like one of those quick TSM victories right now. ZionSpartan did finish his Ravenous Hydra.
Oh dear.
But it's a finished Sunfire Cape on Dyrus. Pops his ultimate just to try and scare him off. So it doesn't look like Zion's going to be taken over anytime soon. No one else on Coast is doing well either.
Shiphtur really not able to get even farm in now that his lane has been kind of mushed up with everything that's been happening. He's down 30 CS now. Bjergsen, he's already in the 1v1s trying to get people to fight him here on split pushing.
Zed can transition into a strong split pusher here. And as long as TSM wards well, they will continue to keep Katarina out of this game. Bjergsen got a substantial lead on Shiphtur, 149 to 109. You can see 1,800 gold as well, while still nearly taking down his turret. Definitely round one here to TSM's entire team, every lane.
Yep, even in the jungle, TheOddOne sits 1,000 gold above NintendudeX right now, and he hasn't spent that gold. A lot of it is sitting in his pocket because he has been roaming. So we'll see what they produce with their next bit of movement. 45 seconds on the Dragon Jet, and they still have that covered with a bunch of wards.
It looks like TSM will want to take that Dragon soundly. Dyrus will have to make sure to rotate down. Coast is really hoping to find a rotation where they can get some type of 5-on-3 or outnumbered fight, because if they try and fight 5v5, they are going to get completely wrecked.
Absolutely, and everything that TSM is doing is just falling into place. The mid turret drops there. They're possibly able to drop Dragon right after this. The gold is just coming in bursts for them.
There's a chance this is going to be one of those starve-out games like we saw when COG took out Curse. That was a much lower kill game. This is just like the objectives with the kills as well, so it might happen even faster. Nintendo's got to be so careful.
Bjergsen says, I can get the kill, I want it. Goes a little too early, but they still have everything they need to get this Dragon. 17 minutes on the clock, and it looks like Nintendude won't make it out of this one alive, but they know the threat from Bjergsen is down now, so they can watch Dragon get taken down. They can't go for it, though.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That is just 8,000 gold. Now, they wanted to flash that wall, but Xpecial didn't have his flash up. I think he was calling the initiation. You can see he ran up to the wall in the way that he wanted to flash over it. But he could not make it there. They still might look to turret dive, get counter-initiated on. Yeah. Coast would not be able to follow that up.
They wanted Xpecial there. His flash is not up just yet. So it's going to have to be a walk-in Tibbers initiation if they do go for it. Without Mundo here, though, diving would be a little scary.
Yeah, but look how much damage they're getting on the turret nonetheless. Knowing that Leona ult is down, so the initiation isn't necessarily going to work. They know they are extremely far ahead. There's over 1,000 gold on everyone but Xpecial right now for the shop trip, meaning it's time to go back, buy some goodies, and continue to dominate. This is an extremely one-sided game.
And it's getting harder for Shiphtur, being one of the key players, a part of the featured matchup we're looking at today. He can't even build damage. The Death Lotus on his ultimate, you almost have time to just walk out of it before it really does that much damage. Yep.
No burst yet on Shiphtur. Katarina falling behind at this stage in the game is very bad. Also, the fact that the Aegis of the Legion was somewhat rushed by the TheOddOne. A lot of times you will see Elises go for haunting guys and more magic penetration. But this time, just since there's a magic resist aura, it diminishes Shiphtur's chance. It resets even more. Bjergsen's going to have to pull some tricky plays here. Let's see what he's got. Oh, he's
not going to put it by him. Whoop. There he goes on the other way, and that's no crowd control that can keep him in place.
That was too easy for him.
That was too easy.
Someone's got to stick by the shadow. But they were too afraid to split up and let Bjergsen ult and kill one of them, that they had to stick together, and that just meant Bjergsen gets away for free.
That goes over to Nintendude, unless Bjergsen gets it somehow. I think he's got the range on it, so they're safe on that. The ward's already placed, so they knew they were going for the blue buff. TSM continues to keep those wards up, still at least one pink ward has always been on the Dragon this game.
And another thing to note about this TSM domination so far is it's a individual team effort, and I'll explain that in a sense that no one has been a part of more than 3 kills or assists, but they have 6 overall. Normally, like, your average kill participation for a player is around 70%. But since TSM is all sitting at 50 right now, that means they've been individually winning fights without many assists. Everyone on TSM is winning their individual matchup.
And we can see Coast trying to push those individual winners out of there and jungle in themselves. Bjergsen always giving somebody hassle. It looks like he doesn't have any wards on him. He has placed a trinket, so he's going to be able to be safe. That vision in the top side of the jungle. But the 8,000 gold lead allows them to play, will you say, a little bit careless now? They aren't, but they can take chances.
They're playing controlled, but it means they can do things that seem dumb. Like if Dyrus wants to completely turret dive, he can, because he's just that much stronger than ZionSpartan right now. If they want to force a Baron and get themselves low and then peel at low health, they can do that as well.
Oh, that was a bad choice, Zion. That was a bad choice. That might happen right now, Chad. If he wants to dive that turret, oh, come on, dive the turret.
He's really respecting Zion's burst right now. He got ignited. He's waiting for that to burn off.
It was close.
You going to go? No. Too much shield.
Some nice lifesteal coming in from the Hydra for Zion there as well. Healthy. I'm a little sad that Dyrus didn't dive, but another day, he stays okay. That's fine. He gave that one to me. He said, I'll dive a little bit.
Take a few turret shots just because he can.
The Zanya's almost finished onto Shiphtur. Really don't know how much it's going to help. It really, at this point, it prevents his death. He's still not killing people.
For about 2.5 seconds, it'll prevent his death, and then it will swiftly be met once again. Lowest deaths in the LCS as well, adding 2 to that list right now. Not the best game for Shiphtur. Really, the fact that he all-inned at level 6 and lost set him completely behind. I think soon enough we're going to see TSM get the ward control over this Baron and take it. Surprisingly, Coast, because they're so far behind, is just playing extremely conservatively. It's one thing I actually respect about some teams who lose games quickly, is they realize they're incredibly far behind. So they just take risks, and that usually just means they die a whole bunch and lose earlier. Coast isn't taking many risks here, and it's bleeding them out of the game. They have to go in for a fight at Baron here, because that's the risk TSM is daring them to take.
Nintendude has the Ragnarok, but they don't go towards Baron, and Baron's not even taking the engagement. Flashing over the wall, there's the death blow to Shiphtur, grabs one! Shiphtur grabs 2! Can he keep going? Shiphtur goes down, it's going to be 30 seconds on the timers now, but he came out of nowhere with that.
Okay, that's one way to do it. Let's take another look at how this happens. So even though TSM feels like they have a clean initiation, everyone on TSM balls up. Look at this. All 5 people are taking damage from that death lotus, and once Shiphtur gets a reset, he's spamming Q and W as fast as possible. It's nearly an instant cast. Holy crap, that was a lot of damage from Katarina.
Absolutely amazing. Shiphtur turns everybody on their heads that fight. We were saying he's not going to have an impact, but he has put himself in the right position.
He shouldn't have had an impact. TSM, I said they could do like foolish things because they were so far ahead.
Yeah.
If there were like 3 of them in a ball, it would have been fine. Just not your entire team as Katarina is getting reset kills. That was absurd.
See what TSM can fight back with after being finally put back to their base. They had quite a bit of gold on them from just knowing they could stay out. The Black Cleaver finally coming in for Bjergsen, so he's going to hurt that much more. And it looks like both junglers going back to favoring the Locket of the Iron Solari.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key item for both these guys in this game. Obviously, Nintendude on the tank Olaf. Just being tanky. OddOne trying to prevent what happened to his team in that last fight when Shiphtur bounced all around. He didn't really bounce anywhere. He just stood in a very small area and used all his buttons over and over again. But
it sure looked cool.
It looked amazing. The thing about this is TSM was so catastrophically far ahead that even though Coast did win one of their risky plays, they let it get to a point where that's not nearly enough.
All right, yeah. They didn't get much after it. They won the fight. Granted, they're happy with that.
They won the fight. They actually took a casualty amongst it, or 2. TSM had to fall back, and then TSM took a dragon. So the gold lead is only about 2,000 worse. Coast came back about 2,000 gold, all said, but there's still 8,000 in the hole, and that's not good.
It's been 4-2 in turrets. TSM may be ahead, but they're having a little trouble finding the way to the next turret here. Still looking to see if they can push back on ZionSpartan in the top lane. Shiphtur, or rather Bjergsen, hasn't really gone back to split pushing too much. He's been with the team more now.
I actually feel like Bjergsen should probably do a little bit more split pushing. Seeing a ZionSpartan itemized in Negatron Cloak, it means since he is the split push opposition right now. That was a nice dodge. Since he is the opposition right now, that Bjergsen would be able to just finish him off.
So without Nintendude, really the one wanting that blue, I guess it could go to WizFujiiN for some zaps, but the wave clear here not really in their favor. But it's not exactly huge siege potential coming out of Team Solomid, and maybe that's why it's kind of all coming to a halt here.
Well, they were hoping that last fight would win them the game. It just ended up delaying it right
This
here.
is also a little different as well.
Dyrus is going to hope to turn this if Zion gets too far out, since he's a little bit out of damage. He's going to heal up and just continue to be annoying in that lane.
Looks like it might be that Void Staff coming out instantly after the penetration, being built up for Shiphtur. He's getting pretty close. No matter, he had a very hard time in the beginning of the game, and he's kept himself up in kills here without too much help from Nintendude. A flash on, but he gets hit with the cleaver right on, sticking with the shield dash, sticking with the dashes, and the W kill coming up for ZionSpartan.
Dyrus definitely being a little dangerous here. Bjergsen now trying to split push on the other side because the rest of TSM trying to stop ZionSpartan. Oh, dear.
No way.
Just missing him with that skill right there. A pixel away.
We'll see what kind of damage he has. The lock into the Iron Solari bursted right up, and it's good enough from the death mark, and Bjergsen slips out alive.
Not a good game for NintendudeX right there. Bjergsen did have to pop his death mark over here, and the stall continues for Coast.
Yeah.
Even though Nintendo got picked off, Zion, if he could start beating Dyrus in 1v1s, that just completely changes the complexion of this game.
Got a little scary after that, and ZionSpartan actually
smart.
built up the Quicksilver sash for himself. Now we're looking at the Baron.
Yeah.
Let's see what they
Jungler
can do.
dead, teleport up, 5v4. This could be the game if they peel off for a good initiation.
Where are they going to go with this one? The locket has already been used, so they save the initial damage from Baron. ZionSpartan comes in, and he is quite a factor of DPS.
Where's Katarina? We got to watch for this. He's coming in from behind. He's very low,
coming
though.
in from the blue buff area. Shiphtur down to 50% HP. The smite goes to TheOddOne, but he is very low. So is Bjergsen. The DPS is out of the fight. They're zoning out Fusion. He is way out of mana. Gonna go down in this instance, and they may be able to catch Shiphtur.
Really touch and go smite there by OddOne. He was low, which is why it was a little bit dangerous, but they controlled the way Coast was coming in. There was almost no danger of a steal as long as OddOne was alive. No smite alive for Coast. They secure the Baron. That'll give them the strength to maybe push through. Dangerous thing, though. Coast forced them into a risk.
Bringing back, as we see Bjergsen here, that mid lane matchup, a feature matchup of the day. Bjergsen's 258 to 169. The early freedom has given him a run in this game.
Look at that goal, 4,000 up on Shiphtur right now. That's also because Zed has just been farming so much more, and Shiphtur hasn't been able to get into lanes where he can farm.
Right.
They've been giving most of that farm over to WizFujiiN on Jinx, actually. Who's also behind WildTurtle, by the way. TSM, like we said earlier, won every lane, and it's showing heavily in their farm.
Coast has some scary picks coming out of Champion Select. Like we said, they really needed to do well early game, but they're fending for themselves well here in the mid game, mid to late.
Yeah. With
that early game going bad.
Coast has stretched this pretty well. I expected it to be a much swifter and more decisive victory by TSM. Really that 5-man Katarina alt slash spinning blades and all the ridiculous.
All the death, and all the lotuses.
Sinister Steel. The name of
the spin. Yep.
Yeah.
Give a little bit of movement speed and a heck of a lot of damage. We'll see what they can do on this turret. It's already down to half health. That's going to be some quick procs. They already have the Triforce onto WildTurtle, so structures aren't a problem.
Not whatsoever. This Baron buff is going to try and make a lot of pushing for the rest of TSM. No one can deal with Bjergsen in a 1v1 either, which is fantastic news for TSM. 6 turrets to 2 means they can continue this. And there goes Bjergsen. Is that going to get him?
WizFujiiN. Oh, wow. That was like 800 some damage.
A lot of death mark damage, but it was just enough to finish him off, and Bjergsen was hardly touched.
So crazy. Bjergsen not having any trouble going in and out. You can still see him quickly communicating with the team on the microphones. You see them all now, both teams telling each other we need to get back, and one needs to go forward. The culling comes out of Nintendude. He tries to sidestep it in with the strafe, but he can't get the damage. It's going to be Dyrus coming up with that one. 14-6 of the kills as the first inhibitor goes down in the game, and they're going to keep going.
Yeah, once Bjergsen deletes the AD carry, the then Baron up team with that 15,000 gold advantage is going to take the inhibitors no problem. TSM brute forcing their way through coast base.
Once TSM gets an advantage, they do not let it go, methodically working every entrance to a fight that they needed to, and the entrance to the base of coast right now.
Inhibitor number 3, Daydreamin still dead. Coast almost just has to run straight into a Baron team. It would surely be the end of them, but I feel like it's the end of them if they don't.
A full team of 5 can't even deter Dyrus off a turret.
Got him again.
They go to the back line. Shiphtur very low, trying to get the kills out. WildTurtle's also bleeding, almost dead right now, but the kills finally start coming in. It's the mid 3 from Nintendude to WizFujiiN, and they're looking at the Nexus turrets now, Jat. Daydreamin's the only one that keeps alive.
Another fantastic, decisive win by TSM. 30 minutes in, Dyrus just eating 2 turrets for breakfast. There goes TSM, another win.
Nexus is going to fall. It looks like Coast will not find any victories against TSM in their head-to-heads as TSM grabs another win.
And Riv, even though that game took a little longer than was expected, that was one of the most complete victories TSM has had because every individual did their part.